Hello friends, welcome to my channel Imaginarium. I'm Anu Sinha, and guys, today I'm going to cover the chapter Salient Features of the Constitution from M. Lakshmikant book. Guys, you can even join my Telegram channel and you can find the link in the description box below. And if you have any query, any feedback, any suggestion that you want to give, either you can comment on the comment box or you can join my channel or you can suggest any topic on which you want to see the video. So guys, please keep commenting, viewing, sharing and subscribing to my channel. Thank you. So let's get started with today's topic, that is going to be the salient features of the Constitution. And the topics that we are going to cover in this chapter is salient features and the criticism of the Constitution. Guys, I'm explaining you Lakshmikant book in very detail. Every chapter I'm covering everything, so I don't think so that you need to cover that chapter, read that chapter again, because in my videos I'm giving you very extensive, very detailed explanation of everything. You just need to keep watch this video again and again and revise. You don't need to read the Lakshmikant book. And even if you want the PDF of this video, I can share that in my Telegram channel. Please join my Telegram channel. So let's start. So, salient features and the criticism of the Constitution. Now, here are starting with the description. So the Indian Constitution is unique in its content and spirit. Though borrowed from almost every constitution of the world, the Constitution of India has several salient features. Here it's saying that though we have borrowed our constitution from different constitutions from the world, but still we have several salient features. We know that our constitution makers have gone through the 60 different constitutions of the world before forming our constitution. Now, the original constitution went through many changes since its formation. In fact, the 42nd Amendment Act 1976 is known as the mini constitution due to the important and large number of changes made by it in various parts of the constitution. It says that our constitution is amendable. We can amend our constitution, and the 42nd Amendment Act, which happened in 1976, it is called the mini constitution because it made changes to a large part of the constitution. So now we want to see कि ऐसा क्या हुआ था 42nd अमेंडमेंट एक्ट से पहले जो हमें अपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में इतने सारे चेंजेस लाने पड़े कि हम उसे मिनी कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बोलते हैं. ये हम लोग we will see this thing in other chapter and I will make a very detailed video on that कि 42nd अमेंडमेंट एक्ट से पहले ऐसा क्या हुआ था. So here it is saying this thing. In the case of Nand Bharti case 1973, the Supreme Court ruled that the constituent power of the Parliament under Article 368 does not enable it to alter the basic structure of the Constitution. So here it is saying that in the case of Nand Bharti case, the Supreme Court said that under Article 368. So what is Article 368? It is the article through which the Parliament can amend the Constitution. So it is saying that under Article 368, the Parliament has got the power to amend anything apart from the basic structure of the Constitution. So what forms the basic structure of the Constitution? Now the question is, what is the basic structure of the Constitution and who has defined this basic structure of the Constitution? There is one separate chapter in that in this topic, like basic structure of the Constitution, and I will be explaining everything in detail there. So right now you must understand, like under Article 368 everything can be amended apart from the basic structure of the Constitution. Moving next. Now coming to the features. So the first point is the lengthiest written constitution. So the Indian Constitution is lengthiest written constitution in the world. Now the constitutions are classified into written like the American Constitution and unwritten like the British Constitution. So we have a written constitution, right? So guys, you must understand what what does the written and unwritten constitution means. So suppose we have seen in earlier chapters, like our constitution was constituted by the Constitutional Assembly. A Constitution Assembly was called, in which there were several nominated as well as elected people, and there were several sessions held before forming the constitution. So our constitution was formed through the body called Constitution Assembly. So if the constitution is being formed in such a way where the Constitution Assembly is being called, that is called a written constitution. And if the constitution is not formed in that way, like where the Constitution Assembly is not being called, then it is called the unwritten constitution. So our constitution is the written constitution, because here the Constitution Assembly is being formed and they are called and various session has held. Now it is very comprehensive, elaborate and detailed document. We know that like it contains preamble, 395 articles, 8 schedules. So it is a very comprehensive and detailed document. We are coming to that. Originally in 1948, the constitution contained a preamble, 395 articles divided into 22 parts and 8 schedules. And presently it's talking about till 2019, it contains one preamble, 470 articles divided into 25 parts and 12 schedules. So now we have one preamble, 470 articles and 12 schedules. So do you see that it's very detailed document, like everything has been written. We have written everything. No other constitution in the world has so many articles and schedules. So it's saying that no other constitution of the world has this many articles and schedule. Now we will see that what is the reason for being such a detailed and adding so many articles and schedules. So four factors have contributed to the elephantine size of our constitution. They are basically four reasons due to which our constitution has become that elongated and that long. So the four reasons are: the first one being the geographical factor, that is the vastness of the country and its diversity. So the first reason is the geographical factor. Geographical factor means our country is very diverse from east to west, north to south. We have so many different kind of region, religion, people, like diversity of the country. In the south we have people speaking the south language. Northeastern is considered to be different tribes are there. Above we see that the North India is entirely different, sorry, northeastern, different tribal peoples are there. Gujarat is something different, Maharashtra is different. So there are so many states, there are so many diversity in the country, different geographical factors are there, so that lead to the vastness of the constitution, or because everything has to be added. The second being the historical factor. Example, the influence of the Government of India Act 1935, which was bulky. So like a lot of things has been taken from the Government of India Act 1935. So that is also one reason that a lot of things is taken from there, which leads to the historical factor. The other thing is the single constitution for both the center and the state. So we in India we have single citizenship and single constitution. We do not give different constitution for state and country. So we have only single citizenship for both. So here it is saying that single constitution. We have single citizenship as well as single constitution for both center and the state. That's why it is also one of the reasons for the bulkiness of the constitution. And the fourth point is, the last point is the dominance of the legal luminaries in the constitution, like the dominance of the politicians and the lawyers, due to which they have added so many different clause and difficult words. That's why it became bulky. So these are the four factors which have contributed for the bulkiness, or you can say lengthiness of the constitution. Now moving next point, drawn from the various sources. Like I have already told, and we know that our constitution is called a borrowed constitution because it has been drawn from the various sources. So the Constitution of India has borrowed most of its provision from the constitution of various other countries as well as from the Government of India Act of 1935. Okay, so the structural part is taken from Government of India Act of 1935. So the structural part of the constitution is taken from this act. The philosophical part, philosophy means like the fundamental rights and the directive principle, is taken from the American and the Irish constitution respectively. So fundamental rights is taken from American constitution, and directive principle of the state policy DPSP is taken from the Irish constitution. This is called the fundamental rights and DPSP is called the philosophical part. So we have taken philosophical part from American and Irish constitution. Now the political part, the principle of cabinet government and the relation between the executive and the legislature. This is called the political part. It is taken from the British Constitution. Okay, guys, I will be making one more video in which I will be talking about the various schedules and what all features we have borrowed from different constitutions of the world. So I will be telling everything in detail in that video. I'm not going to make draw in this video. I'm not going to make you understand in this video, because this video will become then very longer, and that will be very difficult for you guys to retain. So right now you must understand these 3 points, like the structural part, philosophical part, and the political part. The other provisions of the Constitution has drawn from the Constitution of Canada, Australia, Germany, USSR, now Russia, France, South Africa, Japan, and so on. So we have borrowed few things from every constitution of the world. The federal scheme, judiciary, governors, emergency power, and the Public Service Commission, and most of the administrative details are drawn from the Government of the India Act. Okay, moving next. The third is blend of rigidity and flexibility. What does that mean? Okay, what does rigidity and flexibility mean here? So I will be covering this now. So constitution are classified into rigid as and flexible. Okay, a rigid constitution is the one that requires a special procedure for its amendment, as for example American Constitution. And flexible constitution, on the other hand, is the one that can be amended in the same manner as the ordinary law are made. For example, the British Constitution. So rigid and flexible. So rigid means which requires a constitution which requires a special procedure for its amendment, like it cannot be amended through simple, simple procedure, like simple simple people coming into the parliament and simple voting. It is not amended in that way. It requires some special task, a special procedure to be performed. That's why it is rigid constitution. And flexible is the one we have seen that it can be amended in the same manner as the ordinary law. Like we have seen, like ordinary law can be amended in a very ordinary manner. There is no rigid process for that. So flexible constitution is that thing. The Constitution of India is neither rigid nor flexible, but a synthesis of both. So our constitution is neither rigid like the American Constitution, nor flexible like the British Constitution. Why we are saying this? Because I will be telling you now. Because under Article 368, we have two different procedure for amending the constitution. Okay, but apart from that, there is one more thing that is not under Article 368, in which we can amend the constitution in the ordinary manner. Okay, so I'm explaining that now. Article 368 provides for two types of amendments. Some provision can be amended by the special majority of the parliament, like we need the special majority of parliament, that is two-thirds of the majority of the member of the each house present and voting, two-thirds of the member of the each house present and voting, and majority of the total membership of each house, and majority of the membership of each house. So this is one procedure, and the second one is the some other provisions can be amended by the special majority of the parliament and with the ratification of half of the state. So some other provision under Article 368 can be amended by special majority of the parliament, that is two-thirds of the members of the parliament, and majority of the total membership of each house, that is 50%, and once the and ratification of half of the state, like once the half of the state have given their ratification, it is considered to be passed. Okay, so here in Article 368 we have two types of amendments. At the same time, some provision of the constitution can be amended by simple majority of the parliament in the manner of ordinary legislative process. So some parts can be amended simply just as simple legislative process. Notably, these amendments do not come under Article 368. So this is what I was talking here right now. So this ordinary procedure does not come under Article 368. So whatever we are covering here, that is a bit rigid, and but whatever we are covering here is called flexible. So that's why our constitution is a blend of rigidity as well as flexibility. Now moving next. Federal system with unitary bands. What does that mean? So the Constitution of India established a federal system of constitution. Here it is saying that we follow a federal system of constitution because like our power in our country, the power is getting divided between the at the topmost we have center, then we have state, and under states we have different, panchayats, municipalities, different, so power, different authorities. So power in our country is getting divided from top to bottom. So we do not have a center as the sole authority leading all over the country. We do not follow such system. We have like power getting divided. That's why our system is federal system of the government. So it is saying that the Constitution of India established a federal system of the government. It contains all the usual features of the federation. Two government, these are basically the features of the federal government. Guys, you must remember these points, like what are the features of the federal system. These are very important. So two government, division of power, written constitution, supremacy of the constitution, rigidity of the constitution, independent judiciary, and bicameralism. These are the features of the federal system of the government. However, Indian constitution also contains a large number of unitary and non-federal features. So though we have these federal features, apart from that we also have some unitary features. And what are those unitary features? A strong center. We have a very strong center, then a single constitution, single citizenship, flexibility of the constitution, integrated judiciary, appointment of the state governor by the center, all India service, emergency provisions, and so on. These are the features of the unitary system of the government. That's why our system is called federal system with unitary bias. We follow federal, but we have some unitary constitution, unitary kind of features also. So you must remember, guys, these points, like what all are under federation and what are all covered under the unitary. The term federation has nowhere been used in the constitution. So you must remember, like we have never used this word federation in the constitution. Instead of that, Article 1 on the other hand described India as the union of the state. We have, instead of federation, we have used the word union of a state. So India is union of a state instead of federation. What does that implies? Why we have used union over federation? Now I'm going to explain that. The reason is, one, Indian federation is not a result of an agreement of the states. Like our federation is not formed because the states agreed to form the single center. This is not the case in India. But instead, this was our geographical area, and we have divided it into small parts just for the administrative purpose, so that it can be administered in a better way. This thing has happened in American Constitution, where different states have come together and they have formed a center. But we have not formed this through, India is not formed through this way. Instead, we was a single whole country, and then we have divided it just for the administrative purpose. So it is that this is the line which is explaining, which is saying this, that Indian federation is not the result of agreement of the states. And the second point is, no state has the right to secede from the federation. And since we have divided the state for the administrative purpose, one state cannot say that I am getting separated from India and I am forming an independent country. So state do not have that right. So these are the two things because of which we are calling, because of which we are saying that we are union of states, federal in form but unitary in spirit. So this explains it's why we are union instead of federal. Now moving next. I hope I'm clear guys, because I'm explaining in a very layman's language and I'm trying to clear everything. But still, if you find some doubt, please comment guys, please keep commenting. Now moving next. Parliamentary form of the government. So we have parliamentary form of the government in India. The Constitution of India has opted for the British parliamentary system of government rather than American presidential system of the government. So we have formed parliamentary form of the government instead of American presidential system of the government. So we have representative parliamentary democracy. Okay, next, the parliamentary system is based on the principle of cooperation and coordination between the legislative and executive organ, while the presidential system is based on the doctrine of separation of power between the two organs. So here it is saying that in parliamentary system, the legislative and the executive organ are based on the cooperation and coordination. Like they are separate entity, but they are based on cooperation and coordination. It's not like they will act individually, like executive has nothing to do with legislative and legislative have nothing to do with executive. This doesn't happen, but instead they are based on cooperation in the parliamentary system, whereas in presidential system what happens that they are completely based on the doctrine of separation of power between the two organs, but we don't have such thing. So you must remember this. The parliamentary system is also known as Westminster model of the government, responsible government, and the cabinet government. So these are the different synonyms for the parliamentary system. The constitution established the parliamentary system not only at the center but also at the state. So we have parliamentary system not only at the center. At the center we have Rajya Sabha and the Lok Sabha. Similarly, at the state level also we have state legislative assembly and state Lok Sabha and Vidhan Sabha and Vidhan Parishad. Sorry, we have that at the state level also. So we are following this model of parliamentary form of the government even at the center as well as the state level. Now moving next. The features of the parliamentary government in India are, so here are the few features which comes under the parliamentary form of the government. You must remember these points guys, like what forms the parliamentary form of the government, what features are there. So parliamentary government has presence of nominal as well as the real executive, majority party rules, collective responsibility of executive to the legislature, membership of the ministers in the legislature, leadership of the prime minister or the chief minister, dissolution of the lower house, Lok Sabha or assembly. So these are basically the main features of the parliamentary form of the government. Now, even though the Indian parliamentary system is largely based on the British pattern, there are some fundamental difference. So we follow British parliamentary model, but still we are different in few ways. So what are that thing? The India Parliament is not a sovereign body like the British Parliament. So in British Parliament, what happens? Like Parliament is sovereign, but we don't have such thing in India. Like our parliament is not sovereign because our parliament is working as per our constitution. So our constitution is supreme, like not the parliament. The Indian state is elected head republic, while the British state have hereditary head monarchy. In India, we have republic, like the president, he is elected by the elected people from the Lok Sabha and the Raj Sabha. So the head of the state is republic, while in Britain what happened? The head of the state is hereditary. They comes to the hereditary position like king and the queen. Now moving next. Sixth point is synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. Here it is saying that our constitution is synthesis of parliament sovereignty, parliamentary sovereignty as well as judicial supremacy. So sometimes even the parliament is supreme, and sometimes even the judiciary, the Supreme Court is supreme. Now we will see how this is being followed. So the doctrine of sovereignty of parliament is associated with the British Parliament. So the doctrine of sovereignty of parliament. Right now we saw that in Britain the parliament is supreme, while the principle of judicial supremacy with that of American Supreme Court, and judicial supremacy is there in American. So we have seen that we have our constitution is blend of different constitution. So parliamentary sovereignty we have taken from the British constitution, and judicial supremacy we have taken from the American constitution. So the scope of judicial review power of the Supreme Court in India is narrower than that what exists in USA. This is because the American Constitution provides for the due process of law against that of procedure established by law contained in the Indian Constitution. So the Indian Constitution has procedure established by law instead of due process of law. So our Supreme Court has judicial review power that is narrower than what is given in American Constitution. So guys, what is this due process of law and procedure established by law? That also I will explain in a different video, because I need to make a detailed video in this. I will explain that in a different video. Therefore, the farmers of the Indian Constitution has preferred a proper synthesis between the British principle of parliamentary sovereignty and the American principle of judicial supremacy. The Supreme Court, on the one hand, can declare the parliamentary laws as unconstitutional through its power of judicial review. So, any law made by the Parliament uh, can be declared unconstitutional if Supreme Court follow its power of judicial review. Supreme Court has the power to review the laws and decisions taken by the Parliament, and if they are unconstitutional, it can be declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court. Similarly, the Parliament, on the other hand, can amend the major portion of the Constitution through its constitution power. So the Parliament can also amend the Constitution through its power of amending the Constitution. So both are acting at their level, and both have the power to do so. So that is why it is saying that is it synthesis of parliamentary sovereignty as well as judicial supremacy. Now moving next. Integrated and independent judiciary. Okay. So the Indian Constitution is established a judicial system that is integrated as well as independent. Our judicial system is integrated as well as independent. Okay, now how it is that? We will see this now. The Supreme Court stands at the top of the integrated judicial system in the country. Supreme Court stands at the top. Below it, there are High Court at the state level. Below Supreme Court, we have High Court at the state level. Under a High Court, there is hierarchy of subordinate courts. So under High Court, we have hierarchy of subordinate courts. Subordinate courts are there. Under subordinate court also there is some hierarchy. So this single system of court enforces both central law as well as the state law. So this single system of court can enforce central law as well as state law. It's not like that the state court, like the High Court, they are only going to force the state law. So we don't follow such a structure. This single system of court can force central law as well as state law. Unlike in USA, where the federal laws are enforced by the federal judiciary and the state law are enforced by the state judiciary. So this is not happening in India. That's why we are saying that we are integrated. The Supreme Court is federal court, the highest court of appeal, the guarantor of the fundamental rights of the citizen and the guardian of the Constitution. So the Supreme Court is the federal court and the highest court of appeal, the guarantor of our fundamental rights of the citizens and the guardian of the Constitution. The Constitution had made various provisions to ensure its independence. So the independence of the Supreme Court is very important to maintain, so that it do not get interference from the executive and legislative. So how we are maintaining that independence? Through security of tenure of judges, fixed service condition of the judges, all the expenses of Supreme Court charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, provision on discussion on the conduct of judges in the legislature, ban on practice after retirement, power to punish for its contempt vested in the Supreme Court, separation of judiciary from the executive, and so on. These are the things through which we are achieving the independence of the judiciary. Now, moving next. You need to remember this point, guys, they are very important. Now, we have fundamental rights. We have given our citizens few fundamental rights. So part 3, fundamental rights are contained in the part 3 of the Constitution. Part 3 of the Indian Constitution guarantee six fundamental rights to the citizens. Part 3 guarantee 6 fundamental rights to the citizens. They are right to equality, right to freedom, right against exploitation, right to freedom of religion, cultural and educational rights, and right to constitutional remedies. These are the 6 fundamental rights that our Constitution has given to our citizens. So the fundamental rights are meant for promoting the idea of political democracy. These rights are given to promote the idea of political democracy. They are justiciable in nature, that is, they are enforceable by the court for their violation. So, whenever you feel that your fundamental right is getting violated, you are free to move to the Supreme Court. You can directly go to the Supreme Court instead of by the way of appeal, you can directly move to the Supreme Court. The aggrieved person can directly go to the Supreme Court, which can issue writs of habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto for the restoration of his rights. So, what are these things? I will cover this in the chapter Fundamental Rights. However, the fundamental rights are not absolute and subject to reasonable restrictions. So we have got these 6 fundamental rights, but they are not absolute. Reasonable restrictions can be imposed on them subject to certain conditions. They can also be suspended during the operation of the national emergency, except the rights guaranteed under Article 20 and 21. So during national emergency, they can even be suspended. Apart from the rights guaranteed under Article 20 and 21, all other can be suspended during the operation of national emergency. Now moving next. Directive principle of the state policy. So according to B.R. Ambedkar, the directive principle of the state policy is a noble feature of Indian Constitution. DTSP are called the noble feature of the Indian Constitution. So DTSP are enumerated in Part 4 of the Constitution. They are classified into 3 broad categories: socialistic, Gandhian, and liberal intellectual. So there is no such classification in the Constitution, but for our convenience, we have classified into 3 categories. So the democratic principles are made for promoting the ideas of social and economic democracy. So we have seen in the fundamental rights that they are promoting the ideas of political democracy, but directive principle, they are promoting the idea of social and economic democracy. They seek to establish a welfare state in India. They want to establish a welfare state. Directives are non-justiciable in nature. Like the fundamental rights, we are justiciable in nature, and if they are violated, you are free to move to go to the Supreme Court, whereas directives are non-justiciable in nature. That is, they are not enforceable by the court for their violation. The Constitution itself declares that these principles are fundamental in the governance of the country, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles in making law. So there is no such obligation to implement them, but the Constitution declares that these are fundamental in the governance of the country, and state must try to apply this principle while making any law. So whenever any law is being formulated, they have to be kept in mind so that the directive principle of state policy can get implemented. In the Minerva Mile case, the Supreme Court held that the Indian Constitution is founded on the bedrock of the balance between the fundamental rights and directive principle. Moving next. So, just as we have fundamental rights and directive principle, we even have some duties towards the country. So, what are those fundamental duties? I will be explaining that now. The original constitution did not provide for the fundamental duties of the citizens. These were added during the operation of the internal emergency in 1975 to 77 by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976 on the recommendation of the Swan Singh Committee. So when the constitution was formed, fundamental duties was not there in the original constitution, but during the operation of the national emergency in 1975 to 77, it was felt that there is need to add even the fundamental duties to our constitution. So it was added on the recommendation of the Swan Singh Committee. Later on, the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002 added one more fundamental duty. So, with the 86th Amendment Act, we even added one more fundamental duty to our constitution. So, fundamental duties are enumerated in the Part 4A of the Constitution, which consist of only one article 51A. So fundamental duties are there in the part 4A, and article 51A specifies 11 fundamental duties. So in total we have how many? We have 11 fundamental duties. 10 were added by the 42nd Constitutional Amendment Act. Here 10 was added, and 1 was added by the 86th Constitutional Amendment Act. Respect the Constitution. So what are the fundamental duties now? So respect the Constitution, national flag and national anthem, to protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of the country, to promote the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people, to preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture, and so on. These are some of the fundamental duties of the citizens. The fundamental duties serves as a reminder to the citizens that while enjoying their duties, they have also to quite conscious of duties they own to the country. So these are just as a reminder to the citizens that while enjoying your rights, you also have some duties towards the constitution, towards the country, and you must not forget that. So they just serve as a reminder to the citizens. Now, like the directive principle, the duties are also non-justiciable in nature. They are also non-justiciable. Moving next. A secular state. So the Constitution of India stands for a secular state. Our country is a secular country. What does that mean? It does not uphold any particular religion as the official religion of the Indian state. Like, we do not say that India is a Hindu country or a Muslim country or a Sikh country like that. Our constitution uphold that we do not held any particular religion. We give equal respect, equal privilege to all the religion. So the Western concept of secularism connotes a complete separation between the religion, that is the church, and the state, the politics. This negative concept of secularism is inapplicable in the Indian situation. So in Western concept, what happens? That is a negative concept of secularism, and there is a complete separation between the religion and the state. But in case of India, we are not following this. Indian constitution constitutes a positive concept of secularism. Indian constitution embodies the positive concept of secularism, that is, giving equal respect to all religions and protecting all religions equally. We give equal respect to all religions, and we protect all the religion equally, right? So this is the positive concept. So our secularism is based on the positive concept of secularism. The constitution has also abolished the older system of the communal representation, so we do not have even communal representation now. 12th point is universal adult franchise. So the Indian constitution adopts universal adult franchise as a basis of election to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. So our election is based on the universal adult franchise. That is, what does that mean? That every citizen who is not less than 18 years of age has the right to vote without any discrimination of caste, race, religion, sex, literacy, wealth, and so on. Every citizen who is 18 years of age or greater, we have given them power to vote, right to vote. That is what the universal adult franchise means. Without any discrimination of religion, race, caste, sex, we have given this power to everybody. the voting age was reduced to 18 from 21 by the in 1989 by the 61st Constitutional Amendment Act of 1988. So earlier the voting age was 21, but it was reduced to 18 by the 61st Constitutional Amendment Act, which held in 1989. Moving next, single citizenship. So though the Indian constitution is federal and embraced a dual polity, that is polity at center and the state, it provides for only single citizenship, that is Indian citizenship. We give our people only single citizenship, Indian citizenship. We are not giving them the state citizenship. In country like USA, on the other hand, each person is not only a citizen of the USA but also the citizen of that particular state. So in USA, what happens, like people are even the getting citizenship of the state as well as of the country, dual citizenship. But we are not giving the citizenship of our state, but we just follow one Indian citizenship. All India, in India, all citizens, irrespective of the state in which they are born or reside, enjoy the same political and civil rights of citizenship all over the country, and no discrimination is made between them. So here it is saying, irrespective of the people born in any country, any state in India, they all have similar political and civil rights, and there is no discrimination being made on that, because we are not giving any state citizenship, we're just giving the Indian citizenship. So anywhere in India, they have the same political, same civil rights. Now moving next, like independent bodies. Just like we have three organs like executive, legislative, and judiciary, at the same time we have some independent bodies. They function independently, they are free to conduct their own affairs and to take decisions under their authorities. So they do not have any interference from these three bodies, subject to certain conditions. So the Indian Constitution not only provides for the legislative, executive, and judiciary organs of the government, the center and the state, but also establish certain independent bodies. Like, what are those independent bodies? So coming to that, first one is the Election Commission. To ensure free and fair election of the Parliament, state legislature, the office of President of India, and the office of the Vice President of India. So we have Election Commission, which ensures the free and fair election of the Parliament, state legislature, President, and Vice President, and the election of the municipalities and panchayats that are seen by the state election committee. Now, Comptroller and the Auditor General of India. To audit the account of the center and the state government, he acts as a guardian of the public purse and comments on the legality and propriety of the government expenditure. Third one is the Union Public Service Commission, to conduct examination for recruitment to all India service and the higher central service, and to advise the President on the disciplinary matter. The other one is the State Public Service Commission, in every state to conduct examination for recruiting to the state service and to advise the governor on the disciplinary matter. Just as we have Union Public Service Commission at the center for the all India service recruitment, we even have a State Public Service Commission in every state for recruitment to the state services. The Constitution ensures the independence of these bodies through various provisions like security of tenure, fixed service conditions, expenses being charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, and so on. Moving next, like emergency provisions. So the Indian Constitution contains elaborate emergency provision to enable President to meet an extraordinary situation effectively. So we have made elaborate emergency provision in our Constitution whenever there is some to meet the extraordinary situation. The rationality behind the incorporation of these provisions is to safeguard the sovereignty, unity, integrity, and security of the country, the democratic political system, and the constitution. These were the reasons for which the emergency provisions were added in the constitution. Now, the Constitution embraces three types of emergency. We have three types of emergency, namely the national emergency, state emergency, and financial emergency. So, national emergency, on the ground of the war, external aggression, or armed rebel. that is contained in Article 352. So, national emergency can be declared on the ground of the war, external aggression, or the armed rebel. Similarly, we have a state emergency that is called the President's Rule on the ground of the failure of the constitution machinery in the state that is contained in Article 356 or failure to comply with the directives of the center, Article 365. Okay. Now, third one is the financial emergency that can be declared on the ground of the threat to the financial stability or the credit of India. So, whenever there is threat to the financial stability and the credit of India, financial emergency can be declared, and it is mentioned under Article 360. All these things we will see in detail in different chapter. During an emergency, the central government becomes all powerful and the state goes into the total control of the center. It converts the federal structure into a unitary one without a formal amendment to the constitution. So here it is saying that during emergency what happens, like all power get concentrated into the hands of the center, and the federal government, our federal government becomes the federal structure becomes the unitary one, though we are not formally amending the constitution. And this is very unique feature of our constitution. The kind of transformation of political system from federal during normal times to the unitary during emergency is a unique feature of the Indian constitution. Now moving next, the three-tier government. Originally, the Indian constitution, like any other federal constitution, provided for a dual polity. So originally we had only dual polity like center and the state, and contained provision with regards to the organization and power of the center and the state. Later, the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act of 1992 have added third tier of the government, that is local, which is not found in any other constitution of the world. Later what happened, we have made one another third tier by the 73rd and the 74th Constitutional Amendment that is not found in any other constitution of the world. The 73rd Amendment of 1992 gave constitutional recognition to panchayats, rural local government, by adding Part 9 and a new Schedule 11 to the Constitution. And similarly, the 74th Constitutional Amendment Act gave constitutional recognition to municipalities, urban local government, by adding a new part, that is 9A, and a new Schedule 12 to the constitution. So by 73rd and 74th constitutional amendment, our two-tier government became the three-tier government, and that is very unique feature which is not found somewhere else. Our central state was already there, and it even got the power even got dissolved to the panchayats and municipalities. Next one. Next point is cooperative societies. So the 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011 gave a constitutional status and protection to the cooperative societies. In this So I was talking about the 17th point, that is the cooperative society. The 97th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2011 gave constitutional status and protection to the cooperative society. So earlier cooperative society was there, but they were not given the constitutional status. In this contest, it made the following three changes in the constitution. So once the cooperative society were given the constitutional status, three changes were made in the constitution. It made the right to form cooperative society a fundamental right under Article 19. So now the right to form the cooperative society became the fundamental right under Article 19. It included a new directive principle of state policy on promotion of cooperative society, that is Article 34B. A new DPSP was added, Article 43B, where gave the it included a new DPSP on the promotion of the cooperative society. It added a new part, that is 9B in the constitution, which is entitled as the Cooperative Society, Article 343ZH to 343ZT. So these three changes happened. The cooperative society, forming a cooperative society became a fundamental right. It added a new DPSP and a new part was added, that was part 9B. The new part 9B contains a various provision to ensure that the cooperative society in the country function as democratic, professional, autonomous and a economically sound manner. Okay, so why the constitutional status was given to the cooperative society? Just to increase their productivity and to ensure that they can function in a more democratic, professional and autonomous manner. That's why it was important to give them a constitutional status. And after this only we have seen the huge success of Amul Dairy, and we even have Mother Dairy. So there are a lot of examples, but the Amul Dairy is very famous, which became successful once the cooperative society were given the constitutional status. Now moving next, now we will start with the criticism of the constitution. So though our constitution has these many features that we have discussed earlier, but still there are people, those who are not satisfied with the constitution, and they feel like there could have been some improvement and there could have been some additions in the constitution, and there are some important things which are not being added to the constitution. So what are the criticism? Let's see one by one. Like, people called it a borrowed constitution. The critics' opinion that the Indian constitution contains nothing new and original, hodgepodge constitution or a patchwork of several documents of the world constitution. It is saying that our constitution has nothing new and it is a completely a hodgepodge of different constitution of the world. However, the criticism is unfair and illogical. Why? Because the farmers of the constitution made necessary modification in the features borrowed from the other constitution for their suitability to the Indian condition, at the same time avoiding their faults. So they are saying that though we have borrowed the constitution, but we have made necessary modification as per the suitability of the Indian scenario. Like, we have not just copied it as it is, but we have made necessary changes to suit the Indian constitution. So this is the counter argument. Now moving next, it is said that it is a carbon copy of Government of India Act of 1935. The critics said that the farmers of the constitution has included a large number of provision of the Government of India Act of 1935 into the Constitution of India. Hence they called the constitution as a carbon copy of 1935 Act or an amended version of 1935 Act, because a large number of things has been borrowed from Government of India Act of 1935. That is why it is called its carbon copy. The third point is an un-Indian and anti-Indian. Our constitution is called un-Indian and anti-Indian. Why? The critics say that the Indian constitution is un-Indian or anti-Indian because it does not reflect the political tradition and the spirit of India, because it is not reflecting the political tradition that was there in India. The foreign nature of the constitution makes it unsuitable to the Indian situation or workable in India. So it is difficult for the constitution to work in India because it is not suited in the Indian tradition. This is one of the argument made. Fourth point is it is said that it is un-Gandhian constitution. According to the critics, the Indian constitution is un-Gandhian because it does not contain the philosophy and ideals of Mahatma Gandhi, the father of the Indian nation. The opinion that the constitution should has been raised and built upon the panchayat, village panchayat and district panchayat. So they are saying that our constitution is un-Gandhian constitution because it is not based on the philosophy of the Mahatma Gandhi, because Mahatma Gandhi wanted the panchayats, the local government, to be the power center, and from here the power should get divided to state and the center. So he wanted basically to follow the bottom up approach. It is called bottom up approach. Gandhiji wanted this, but in India we are not following this bottom up approach. Instead, we have power at the center, and then it is getting divided to states, and then we have seen like how we have formed the third tier at like panchayat and municipalities. So we follow in India top down. This is called top down approach. So you see like completely uska ulta ho gaya. Gandhi ji wanted to follow the bottom up approach, but we are not following bottom up. Instead, we are following the top down approach. So that's what is saying there, that their opinion that the constitution should has been raised and built upon the village panchayat, but it's not happening that. The fifth point is elephantine size. The critics said that the Indian constitution is too bulky and too detailed and contains some unnecessary details. Some unnecessary details are there in the constitution, and that's why it has become very bulky and very detailed. Now, the last point is paradise of the lawyers. So, according to the critics, the Indian constitution is too legalistic and very complicated. The opinion that the legal language and phraseology adopted in the constitution make it is a complex document. So they are saying that it is too legalistic and so many complex languages is used that it is difficult for common people to comprehend it. That's why it is a paradise to the lawyers. The draft trend to make people more litigious, more inclined to go to law court, less trustful and less likely to follow the matter of truth and non-violence. So ऐसा बनाना था हमें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन जिसमें लोगों के लिए ये ईजी हो उन्हें कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन समझना, उन्हें कोर्ट जाने की ज़रूरत कम पड़े, बट ऐसा नहीं हुआ और हमारा जो कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन बना वो बहुत ही हैवी लैंग्वेजेस और वेरी डिटेल बना है, जो कि लॉयर्स के लिए एक पैराडाइज है, उनका फ़ायदा हो रहा है यहाँ पे, ये आर्ग्यूमेंट हो रहा है. So these are basically the six more main important criticism for the constitution. So guys, here I end this video of the salient features of the constitution, and I will be coming up with another video in which I will be telling you the schedules and the provisions that we have borrowed from the different parts of the country. So this is end of the video guys. Please like, subscribe, share and do comment your feedback, like what do you think about my videos and how you like them, and do give your suggestion, and please join my Telegram channel. You can find the link in the description box. Thanks for watching. Thank you so much.